I will introduce myself. I am Jim Gustafson, Professor of Psychiatry at the University of Wisconsin Medical School, giving my 28th of 36 lectures. Today's lecture is called Action Upon Our Bodies. The great passages in literature come to us from huge distances and times afar. If we can let them pass our filtering systems, if they will reach us. If they can pass our filtering systems, which is what's the limiting subject of the lecture. Now I'll give you one from Dante, and I'll give you one from Homer. Always the seeing from afar in these writers is augmented by the other senses. Here's an example of seeing from afar, augmented by the sense of touch, which is uncanny. It is from Canto 24 concerning thievery, which gets, in Italian, it's contrapasso. In Dante, everything, if you thieve, you're gonna end up in hell as the object of thieves. Good thing, huh, Pam? And this thievery gets its contrapasso, its opposite. For its hands on the body of someone else to rob them, you see. The thieves are to have hands upon their bodies in hell. Pickers and stealers, as Shakespeare would say. Now I'll give you a few lines from Dante. Amid this fearsome and most awful plenty, people, naked and in terror, were running, without hope of refuge or heliotrope. Heliotrope means turning towards the sun. Their hands were tied behind their backs with snakes that thrust heads and tails through their legs and joined, knotting themselves in front. And behold, one of these souls was near our ridge when a serpent launched and pierced him right where the neck and shoulders join. So, why is this indispensable to us? There is no more compelling message to ourselves about our actions than what they will bring about in our own bodies. This is precisely how dreams get this across to us at 4 in the morning. Later I'll tell you the dream I had at 4 in the morning after this lecture. We will return to this crucial point, for dreams rerun the routes that we ran by day, they rerun them at night. And this is how they work. This is how they work most powerfully upon us. With a kind of vividness displayed by Dante in every line. I do not consider this a minor matter. As I said, we need Dante every time we turn around. This readiness of a single line of sight augmented by the other senses such as touch and hearing, taste, smell, is indispensable to every animal that lasts in this world. Now for Homer, in Christopher Logue's current account, he made Homer into 5 one-hour plays. They played in London. They were tremendous. And here we have the Homer passage from Homer. Here's Hector, speaking, the Trojan, the leader of the great warrior of the Trojans, speaking to Paris, his brother, who dragged them into the inferno of the war. And here I start with Logue's translation. They have not spoken for 5 years. And then Hector speaks. Oh, there you are, blowing a speck off his brother's plate. The womanizing smirk who took their queen. Troy's heir, a picker, picking one whose owners live for nothing except war. Our specialist. Nice. Nice. The world says yes to you before you asked. Your laughter pardons your betrayals in advance. What does he do at dusk when other souls beg God to see them through the night. The same thing that he does at dawn. Your hair, your voice, your dancing, your guitar. Beautiful filth. You must be pleased. It is a long time since you had the chance to be the man you were the day you brought her and them ashore. Brought her and them ashore. Beautiful filth. Here's your opportunity to be that man again before you die. Courtesy, her first husband, I should think. Take it, or I shall strangle you with my bare hands. I imagine you get the force of these two passages as actions upon your body. You can feel snakes sticking out their heads and tails between your legs and knotting them in front and piercing your neck right where the head and shoulders join. You can feel Hector's blowing the speck off his brother's plate and then coming to his conclusion, take it, or I shall strangle you with my own bare hands. Now, Christopher Logue's translation of Homer and Dante also demonstrate something else, the peril of being caught up in a single line of sight. Gilchrist calls it the danger of light in the darkness. In all of the Greek tragedies, it is false light. The cluster of images is one of nets of all kinds, and we'll get to this shortly in my own picture. Actually, and here's Gilchrist summarizing all of the plots of Greek tragedy. All actually by net, I mean a complex of related images, nets, coils, web, and harness, constructs of fabric or cord that link, entangle, capture, or constrain. Harness appears first in a metaphor. Calchas at Aulis foresees the Greek army as a great bit for Troy. Thus, we have gotten the most vivid, visual, auditory, tactile actions upon our bodies of being caught in a net of deceit put in a false light. If you allow these snakes between your legs, I think you can think of such cases. It sounds, you can put it in sexual terms in a certain way, and some people damn well have that problem. If you are dragged into disaster by your brothers or your brother-in-law's fancy of himself, how am I to bring these out in psychiatry? We get so far from the body with our checklist. We may not even look up to watch it. All right, now we come to the author's dream. It's about my relationship with you guys. You'll see what I really think of our mutual, work. No, I don't think this. My unconscious thinks this. I'm not responsible for what I'm about to tell you. I dreamed of a beautiful structure quite like that of an oyster, a fortress with delicate flaps, which looked like this. And now we'll go to the whiteboard. It says, dream as self-portrait of an oyster. That's myself. I'm turning into one the longer I work here. The idea of the dream is a system of filters like every oyster has inside its sturdy fortress of a shell. That's that black line around the outside there, which acts as a no-pass filter, as we were just discussing, because it doesn't, oysters, whatever they're going to let in comes through a very tiny little portal there at the bottom. The oyster in the dream is being admired for its formidable barrier to a disturbing world, yet its immense delicacy in filtering seawater for its supper. I aspire to be as skillful, Paul. Nearly a month later, my drawing with the green line was added. Now I'll explain those letters there momentarily. It has two filters In the dream, this oyster had two filters, a high-frequency pass filter for events that happen at high frequencies. You see the HPF there? That pair of flaps there opts as a high-frequency filter, letting in high frequencies, that is, or high pitches, as we say in music. Then there you see that low-pass filter, LPF, also in red there, which lets in low frequency or low pitches, right? So then I had this, a month after I had the dream, I had another dream, this dream over again. And this time it had a green line that connected the two filters and that could coordinate the two, that could actually manage to let in low frequencies and high frequencies. Very clever, huh? And that's called a bandpass filter. All right. Now you can come back from the whiteboard and we'll conclude this lecture. Now, I'm about to pull a bunch of things together for you, in case it isn't pulled together. Following the conception of hierarchy theory that evolution takes place by incorporation into the body of disturbance. For example, the reason that a big bluestem grass, which grows 10, 12 feet high, the way it handles forest, or the way it handles fire, is that its root system is underground. So everything is knocked out, but it's incorporated fire into its cycle so that it takes advantage of fire, you see. That's true of animals too. All right, so I've been disturbed showing residents two beautiful lines of sight in 5 minutes with their patients, and then I read their epic notes and they always leave out what I said. There's no one here that's not present company. No, it's quite uncanny. Every night I'll go home and I'll say, because all the patients, they have a tendency to make all the patients sound the same. But everything I do in 5 minutes is to bring out the particular images and words, of the patient. But it's not so easy to get this across to residents if they have a filtering system that just filters out the most important things that I do every time I see a patient, right? This bothers me slightly. So, as if we'd seen no such thing, I'll look at this and I'll say to my wife, I don't know that we saw the same patient. And of course we didn't. I saw some certain anyway, I better shut up and finish here. I have incorporated their disturbing neglect of what is so dramatically important. I just put it back in the epic record in one sentence, as casually and effortlessly as an oyster filtering seawater. It's my revenge. Thus, I seem to be evolving into an oyster, Paul. First time in evolution that a human being has evolved into an oyster. All right, now I want to really pull it together for you. That's for me. I got that in for myself. Now for you. Every time I see a patient with a resident, I witness this kind of physical or bodily violence as actions upon the patient's body. My mirror neurons take it into my body at half the intensity of what I'm witnessing. All I have to do is ask the patient what he or she is concerned about. That creates a symmetrical field, and his or her body will go into motion in some telling way. Why is this happening in the present as it happened 700 years ago in Florence, witnessed by Dante, 3,000 years ago in Troy, as witnessed by Homer? Because most of what is disturbing still 3,000 years later is the same thing. It's one person's will forced upon another. It's what I call an asymmetrical situation. I never see a case in which there isn't some kind of violence of some person's will. Someone's inflated, as I said in the last lecture. Someone's getting deflated. In other words, as in Dante, being robbed by someone whom you trusted to back you up. As in Homer, being dragged into debt and bankruptcy by a family member who was only interested in pleasing himself. Thank you.